So one of the questions that people have is, how can I help my loved one who is having anxiety? Like, one of the things that we have to recognize is, what does it feel like? Like, it's hard for us watching them have an attack of anxiety, however that manifests itself, to understand what's going on. And what we need to understand is a few things. One is that it's something they don't have control of at this time. So we have to understand that this is something they're caught in, they're being carried in. They have no control of it. It's like being in a boat, and the boat is going down a stream, and you have no control, and you don't know what to do, and you're anxious, you're upset, you're overwhelmed, you can't even focus. You don't know what to do. It's overwhelming. And you're caught, and you can't get out of the boat. Because if you do, you're afraid you're going to die. You're afraid something bad's going to happen. You're just panicked. That's anxiety. And at its worst, it is totally debilitating. At its worst, it will stop you cold. And if it gets really bad, you can't breathe. You will live. You will live, but you won't feel you're going to. And I know a number of people over the years have gone to the hospital. They thought they were having a heart attack, and they weren't having a heart attack. They were having an anxiety attack. Because they were having chest pains, and they were having all kinds of symptoms that were scary. Now that's the extreme. But we have to recognize that all of us experience anxiety. All of us experience and react to stress differently. And there is good stress. But at some point in a day, some point in a week, some point in a life, it may happen that you are overwhelmed. That you are experiencing so much stress that's built on itself. It amplifies itself. There's a death, and then there's another death, and then something goes wrong, and then there's problems at work, and each time we're hit by the stress. And each time we try and gain control and become more peaceful, to come back down to a place where we're functioning and comfortable. Sometimes we can't. So what do you do for someone who is in that place where they just are feeling overwhelmed? Well, there's some simple things you can do. One is you can listen. You can try not to be impatient in that moment. You can encourage them to sit and be still, to breathe, to do what they can, to let go, those kinds of things. You can be a mirror at times, if there's a need for that. But do it lovingly, do it with kindness. Do it gently. There are all kinds of stress, there are all kinds of ways we react, so there's no simple solution. But the most important thing is for you to be present. It's also important for you to know that this stress is not your fault. That you haven't created this. It's also important for you to know that on some level, the person that you love doesn't believe that they can control this situation. So we can encourage them, reinforce them, Tell them that it is a situation that they have some control over, that they are not being caught, trapped in a boat going down a rapids, that they are more in control of things than they think. Encourage, listen, but you can't take responsibility. You can't be anything but supportive in recognizing that this is their journey and they're moving through it. And you can help them in that process, but something you can't do, and this is important for you to understand, you can't take responsibility for them. This is their choice. And that's not to say that they're choosing it consciously, but they are choosing it. So you can't take responsibility for it. You can't take responsibility for them. You can love them, you can support them, you can do what you can. Ultimately, this is their journey. Ultimately, they're in control. And I don't say that to diminish the challenge. It's still real. It's very real. But you, as someone loving someone who is caught in that boat, it's important to understand that it's their boat, that you aren't in the boat. But what you can do is you can throw them a line if you can. They have to choose to take it or not take it. That's important to understand. We love them. We want them to be okay. We want to love them unconditionally. But more importantly, and this is really important to understand, that they have to love themselves unconditionally. That's important. And we have to encourage them to do that, but not take responsibility for their challenge. It is something that we've all come across at one time or another. And it's something that we can feel very helpless in because we can't control them. We aren't in charge of them. It drives us crazy that we can't fix it. But we can't. Their anxiety is a byproduct of their perception of their world. And their world may be different than your world. But be patient, talk. Encourage them to sit and breathe. This is not a time to argue or be short with them. But we have to recognize that this is not something that you can take responsibility for. The first step in them taking charge of this anxiety is recognizing that they're in charge of it. That they can't control the world outside, but they can control the world inside. You have the same challenge. Love yourself, love them. Do what you can. You be peaceful. You be grounding. And they will feel and respond to that. What often happens is you get angry, they get angry. You get stressed, they get stressed. They get stressed, you get stressed. It's a loop. You control what you can control. and encourage them to control what they can control, and peace will come out of that. I hope this has been a bit helpful. It's a complicated issue, so it's very difficult to provide simple solutions to complicated things. But I hope this helps. God bless.